Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? And it's wee Paddy from across the shuck. And I've got a plethora of knives down in front of me here. And I just wanted to answer one of the most frequently asked questions that I get, and probably any YouTuber get, is what's your favourite blade shape? Now, I have a two-part answer to this, and I can't change it because it's right. It's exactly right. My favourite blade shape, as if you've known me, I've been around here a fair few years now, is the clip point. I think the clip point, and specifically an Ashley Harrison clip point, or Arthur Wright's, but Ashley Harrison in particular, his swedging on this clip point, the shape of it, to me it's glamorous. It just looks exactly the way I would envisage a clip point to look. Everything about it, the fat, it's got a nice fat meaty belly right up to here is nice and fat. And then you have this really pointy end to it and a little bit of belly for cutting your sandwich. So, I mean, this is my favourite. This is what gives me the fizz. This is just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And you can dress it up or dress it down as much as you like. And it doesn't matter whether it's a £20 one or a £200 one. I just love the clip point when they're done well. I just think it is beautiful. And that's the truth. But I have to break this down because in use, that's not the one I would use most of the time. I'll carry them, but usually when I want to use something, and especially this last sort of year, I've really turned towards, I've always liked them. I've always thought that this is a spear point. Sorry, I didn't state. So this is the spear point. This is what I love. And this is a nice thin, it's nearly like a pen blade, it's that thin. But there you go, it looks like a spear. And I'm covering that because sometimes when you blend it in the handle, you don't see the shape of the blade. That is the generic spear point. Where it came from was that because it looks like a spear point. There's a slight downward on it, but not very much. It's just a spear point. So this is great for plunging into packages, for anything. You have that nice little bit of belly, which again gets you down for a sandwich or cutting a bit of string. Whatever you're going to use, this blade can do it. It falls into a completely universal knife blade that will do any job that you want on a day. I believe that. I don't believe there's many other, except for specialized ones, but any other blade shapes that we're generally in use that can do so many things really well. And I mean really well. There's nothing that this can't do really well. But it's not the only spear point. I mean, you think that one's thin. Here's another one, and this is a knife, again, I love. Look at this. And I'll put my hand up there, do you see it? It's like a spear, it's a little dropped. This top end will drop towards the bottom, but it looks like a spear. Very thin, very slicey, great for a steak knife. And I don't hear many people talking about it. This is a super little steak knife, really is. And this one's in, what's this one in? I can't remember what this one is. This is a Remington. I believe it's in stainless steel. Just a gorgeous little knife. Now, I've been carrying this for the last couple of days in my pocket again today. It's probably the third day it's been in my pocket because I've really been enjoying the thin blade, because normally I like fat spears, fat clip points. I like anything a bit fat. It really just appeals to me. But I've been just blown away by how good this is and why I sort of decided to do this video, because, and then when I set them down, I'm thinking there's so many different ways to do a clip point. I mean, here's one of the really old traditional clip points. This is your Victorinox. This is in the Alox. So there you go. But it has really got that pronounced top end of the blade, which is bringing the tip of the blade down so you don't have to lift it up so high to get at it. So this is universally accepted as a lovely spear point blade. And it is. And this single blade is a knife that I think we should be given to all teenagers, young teenagers. What a super knife to give them and get them just used to using a knife. Never mind all the other tools. They don't need all the other tools most of the time. They just need a pocket knife. And this is absolutely fantastic. A super inoffensive but beautiful looking little knife for a starter. Whether, and even a man, a full grown man, if they've not been used in knives, this is perfect. It's got nice pull, nice walk and talk. And yes, this is a Victorinox. This is me talking about it. I think this silver bladed, this single bladed one, is one of the best they have in their range because yes, it doesn't hold an edge for long, but most people are only cutting a few things during their day. And if you strop it at the end of the day, it comes straight back. So this, I think, is an exceptional example of a clip, or a, you see me in my names, my spear point. And I'm going to go up through. Here's one that I use very often. And this is an old Rogers. I bought it for that there. Look at that buffalo horn and look at the feathering on that. That is beautiful. Now, sadly, it's not on the other side, but it doesn't really matter. I could look at that all day long. And again, look at that. Very much the spear point. It's a little bit deeper and drop, but not as much as others. This is a good spear point. And the thinner blade, just for everyday tasks, is so flaming useful. I mean, even if you're opening packages or the plastic around your steak or your bit of meat you're going to eat that night, this is just an everyday star for me. I love it. It's a larger handle on it. I can get full 4 fingers. If I want to do a bit of wood carving, this will do it. Absolutely lovely. Really, really like that blade. And then some of the other ones that I like. Now these, let's have a look at this. But as you can see, this is very thin down here, but it fattens up. Now this is a slim version of a fat spear, if that makes any sense. And I'll show you the difference. This is a GEC. This one's a number 56. And here's the number 85. Now look at the difference. So compared to, I just want to show you the difference between 3 in a row. This is an Arthur Wright one. But you can see it's just a straight up and down kind of a blade where this swells out to a fat end. But it's a slim fat end compared to a GEC knife that's not much bigger than it. In fact, very, very little, 1/4 of an inch of anything. But they have the same shape, except this one's a fat one. And I do love the fat blade. Love this blade as well, I have to say. But I've always been a proponent of the fat spear because it's a great slicer. It's great, if you want to cut through a cake, I'd rather have this than a skinny one. I'm trying to give examples, but it's sometimes quite difficult to think in your head. But I think you'll know what I mean. And I've been really, really using these a lot, the fatter spears. In fact, I got one this year. This is the Rough Rider I've only just got. Look at that for a fat spear. But it's got quite a downward, it's very, very close to being a spay. But it's not, it's a spear. And it's a super fat, heavy spear. I just love using this this is for hard work. This is for when you want, like you've got thick cardboard and you want to get through it. You want a knife that's solid built, big, hefty. This is what it just excels at for me. I love carrying and using this, and I've only got it. And modern, I mean, here's a modern slip joint. This is the real steel. And look at that. Really nice blade, but again, drops right down. So again, you can get up quickly without having to have your hand up here. It's just a lovely spear point. Look at that swedge on that. Is that not just gorgeous? And the small long nail nick. Beautiful, beautiful knife. Really well done from real steel. And it's a faux Barlow. But it's a lovely, lovely knife. Screwed construction, completely modern. N690 blade steel. Plenty of edge retention and a great working knife. And a really reasonable price. So, we've gone through that. Let me go up to the top here. This is one of my favourite working knives. Full stop. This is an Ashley Harrison. This was a custom done. It's in, I think it's beer barrel oak. It's just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. It's not like a fat spear like I was just showing you there, but it's a thick spear. I suppose this is what I'm trying to tell you. It's so difficult to describe a spear because they come in all shapes and sizes. And unless you try the different ones, you're not really sure what jobs. This is more non-specific. This will do anything that a thin one will do and most things that a thick one will do. But the difference in the shape, you can see the fat spear has that bulbous sort of tip to it. It comes down to a lovely point. And another lot of things that I hear people saying is, oh, the spear point's all right, but when you want to poke into something, it doesn't have a very, strong point. Well, I've just put a selection of knives down here, and please point out to me which one doesn't have a point that you can use, because I don't know what you're trying to poke into, but these are slip joints. And trying to poke into something that hard with a slip joint is a recipe for disaster. So I don't know where that response comes from. Maybe somebody down below can tell me. And this is one of my oldest ones. Now, this is an old knife. And you can see the tip on this is a bit rounded over. But do you want to know something? This has never, ever not gone into something I poked it at. Do you know what I mean? It's never not gone in. And again, it's one of them things, I just think sometimes people say something and then a lot of people just join on the end of it and just sort of make it feel as if it's right. And a lot of these things to me is just gobbledygook, because I have not known anything that I can't get any one of these spear points into. Yes, they don't have that aggressive clip point, but like, where we go. This is a lovely, the GEC. I mean, it's beautiful. The tips are completely different, aren't they? They really are. Now, if you're trying to get into somewhere that's delicate and you need that, yes, I'll go for this. But just to open something or poke something, I mean, why can't that do it? Again, don't understand. Don't understand what it is that people have against it. And yes, something like this will go into a Hessian bag better than that, but that'll still go into a Hessian bag. I have done it, I've used it, and I never felt, oh, I must run and get a clip point. That's never happened in my life. If it's happened in yours, let me know. I can understand if there's something in particular. But if something's that difficult to poke into, really using any blade, a slip joint blade to poke into something, is a recipe for disaster. That's where cuts come from. I mean, literally put your knife to the side and do that. Don't try to keep poking something. Just set your blade on it and do that. And because you're putting all that pressure that way. And it's just, I just don't get it. But there we go. That's me. I'm on a bit of a rant, aren't I? It's not meant to be a rant, because these are genuinely my knives. I mean, and what I like about the fat spear is when you get a slender blade. Now, this one comes to the fat end. It's nearly equaling out what the knife looks like in profile. So you've got a fat bit here, coming down to slim, coming up to the fat. That, to me, that symmetry is just gorgeous. And when it's done as well as this is a Tallahassee Jack from Rosecraft. It is an amazing little knife. And it is a small knife, but it's not that small. It's still, what is it? 1, 2, 3.5 inches. That is not a small slip joint. It's not a small knife. I can get 4 fingers, go up to the cast, 4 fingers, super working knife in D2 steel. So, I mean, 3.5 inches, 3.25 to 3.25 and 3.75 is the perfect length for me in a handle. And I've got a large hand. All right, some I don't maybe get that full 4 grip. I'll only get 4.5. I don't care, because I'm comfortable using them knives. It's the sort of knives that I use a lot. This is my newest one. And again, if I can put this, let me put this with a fat. Here we go. Here's a fat spear. And this one, again, much like the other one, which again, this is another Ashley. This is a generic. This one looks very like the generic, very similar in size, whereas this one has this finer bottom to it, up to the balloon, and it balloons up to the center. It's just, you need to find out what they can do, what your favorite is, but until you try certain things, I mean, there's the perfect example of an amazing knife. This is from Rough Rider Reserve. This is one of their first Barlows they done, and this is exceptional. Absolutely an exceptional knife, probably about £50-60 in D2. Really, really good. Really good. So I don't want to favour any companies, but most companies that do a spear point will do different sizes, different shapes of the spear. Because the spear is just a generic name for this type of a blade, because they're all different looking. They're not all just a spear-like. They're all different looking. They're different looking blades. And some of them will have a better point than others. Like this has an absolutely fantastic point. I love it. But it's not the point that attracts me to it. This is a great little knife for small EDC jobs. You don't have that fat spear where you don't need it. You don't need it most of the time. This is an aesthetic look for me. It's more useful than anything else. Slicing cake or slicing a bit of bread is better, I think, with a fatter blade. But just to cut a sandwich up, this will do absolutely fine. So I don't know whether anybody else agrees with me. I mean, there's such a lot of things talked about in the community, and I'm using that word community, which I hate. But in this family that we're in, some people have this habit of saying something, and then other people follow along and agree, but they haven't given a lot of thought. They haven't used the knife much if that's the thing that they're going to come to, that the spear point can't poke with it, you can't do. A lot of nonsense. There's very few blade shapes. In fact, there's none that you can't poke with. It's a knife. Learn how to use a knife. I mean, I'm sort of going to go off on a bit of a rant here, but like, here's a lamb's foot. You know, and people say, oh, it's no good for a good end. Turn it that way to the side a wee bit, and that's as sharp a point as you're going to get in any. So there is no reason for that fallacy. Sorry. But no matter what you use, I mean, learn how to use it. That's my little bit of advice today. Learn what you can and what you can't do. And that means in your EDC, changing your blade shapes. And then you find out, oh, I'd rather have that for that sort of a day. I'd rather have this for this day. This is a generic one, which will do any day. And this one is that one for me. It will do a bit of everything. And it's good enough for everything. A great EDC knife. So there you go, rant over, little rave over, but just to talk about spear points and why for me they're the best knives, the best blade shape for doing any sort of EDC work. But my favourite is definitely the clip point, and most of that is because of the aesthetic, and it's what I like collecting, the Barlows in clip point. So there you go. Hope that's answered some questions. I hope it's maybe opened the eyes to somebody who maybe is just around and not sure what to get. Sometimes you have not to listen to what other people say and try a knife because you like the look of the shape of it. You want to know what it feels like. You want to know what its capabilities are, because that is all the biggest thing you're going to learn in the knife game, is learn what your knives can do. And you only get to know that by using them. And I'm by no means a heavy user, but I like to try my knives doing different tasks like cutting wood, which you wouldn't normally want to do, you know, with a pen knife. Use a fixed blade. But I like to use my knives in all them scenarios, because you just never know, because some days the only knife you have is the only knife that's in your pocket. So use them, try them, and then make decisions. All right, take care. Bye. I do have waffle on. Anyway, thank you very much. Take care. Don't forget, if you haven't got your money in for your Paddy's Potato Peelers knife, get it in soon. Get it in now. Or tonight. Don't let it go past tonight. Get it in. Justin's collecting it all up so we can get the money to Arthur Wright and Michael. All right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.